Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be recommending to you guys 10 cards you should consider picking up for set 16. I usually do a video like this as we go into each new set, and these are generally more budget types of cards you guys can pick up, add to your arsenal that help you in the respective colors that you play. So if you're new here, make sure to subscribe, hit that bell so you don't miss a video. And if you guys want to help support the channel, many ways to do so down in the description. But if you want to buy any of the cards you see in today's video or pre-order any cards, use my link in the description to TCG Player. Really does help out a lot. Also check out Mystic TCG, our team sponsor, if you want to buy any sealed product as well as sell cards. Anyways, let's get into the video with card number 1. SS Vegeta the Interceptor is a really cool card. So it's 3-drop 20k dual attack. The counter doesn't really do much. There are some weird shenanigans you can do if your opponent like counterplays you, but it's not really all that relevant. The main thing is the auto when this card's played. Choose 2 of your opponent's battle cards and place them in the bottom of the owner's deck in any order. So those of you guys that play blue out there, I know you're going to feel this. Have you ever been building a blue deck and you're just looking for removal and you just can't seem to find anything except for a random 5-drop Gogeta from like the beginning of the game that's got Sparking 5 and it's just way too overcosted? Now we have a card that serves for really good removal at a very cheap rate. So if you're playing a mono blue deck, maybe even a blue yellow Soul Striker type of deck, I think this is a really solid card you can play for 3 energy, especially in Soul Striker, which will get you 2 that energy back. And again, the fact that it just offers you removal of any 2 battle cards, unfortunately not ignoring barrier, but still any 2 battle cards, doesn't care what energy cost they are. This card is a super stable pickup for any blue player, in my opinion. Definitely get a play set, and the foils probably be cheap as well, so that's a pretty dope thing to add to your arsenal. Alright, next up we have Realm of the Gods Ultra Instinct. This really just represents all of the new extra cards coming out in Realm of the Gods. They're all called Realm of the Gods dash whatever. Definitely pick up a playset of each of these cards. They should be pennies on the dollar because they're just rares, especially if you go for the non-foil versions. The foil versions might fetch you a couple bucks, but these cards are just excellent to have in your arsenal. And what it really seems like Bandai did with these extra cards is kind of like printing retrained versions of the iconic attack rares, which have always been historically expensive. Nowadays, I think the best ones like Cell's Kamehameha and Vegeta's Final Flash sit around like 15 bucks a copy, and they've been reprinted, but those reprints weren't necessarily reprints that made them more accessible. They were just like higher rarity, more fancy reprints. So those never really got the accessibility reprint they needed. And while this is not a true reprint, these cards offer you very similar things to those extra cards, and in some aspects they're better. They are better in a few ways. They aren't necessarily I guess as consistent as the main IARs because they do different things depending on whose turn it is, but again, in some ways that can be better. And the fact that their rares are awesome, and if you can afford to, if you want those SPR arts, they are some of the best looking cards in the game. So definitely pick up a play set of these cards, maybe for just your respective color, or just to have all the different colors for these types of cards would be a pretty good idea in my opinion. Then we have Roomshu Universe 10 Supporters. So admittedly this card is a bit more narrow in usage, but when I was looking through the card database for set 16, it kind of felt like most of the cards in each color were pretty specific. So the reason I want to talk about this is because, one, I think the auto is pretty strong. This card has 4 more markers. When this card's played, draw 1, then choose all your opponent's battle cards in rest mode and KO them. So that's very similar to the Trunks Unison effect, but it's the -3 on it, so you have to give up your Unison to do that. This does it as it enters play, and it's got the Empower Yellow too, so you can just do that by casting this for 2 as long as you had a Unison in play previously. The other thing too though is, while this is obviously support for the new Goku Black Zamasu deck, this is also playable in Dende Wish, which has definitely been a fan favorite archetype, especially when it was more popular as a meta and then rogue deck. But this Unison is actually very interesting for maybe breathing some new life into that deck. Of course, there are some other cards that are useful in the Dende Wish archetype as well that are coming out in set 16, but this one just kind of I don't know, strikes me the most. Again, mostly because it's a Unison for the deck, it's an engine piece for the deck with a +2. It does seem pretty good, and that board wipe is also solid when you're able to pull it off. Next up, we have Support of the Dark Empire. So this is kind of a no-brainer if you guys have been around the meta for a decent amount of time. Every color except black got a negate like this in Evolution Booster that basically says it's free when you're a 5 or less life, and it spawns a blocker token, For whatever reason, like even with the free unison counterplays, they just don't like to give black these types of cards. And I guess it like sort of makes sense if they want to consider black like the aggro slash splashable color, but nowadays we have black decks that pretty much have their own identity, whether it's aggro with like Gogeta Xeno or control with Baby Hatch. So yeah, I mean, it makes sense to give black what all the other colors have in terms of utility cards. Maybe they'll even get a free unison counterplay one of these days, who knows. But Support of the Dark Empire is an absolutely insane card. If you're playing black, definitely pick up a playset. This is going to be such a vital add to any black strategy for the most part, honestly. Then we have Vados, Angel of U6. So this card again is kind of narrow, but this can be played in a lot of blue-red decks. Like if you're playing Cooler Mill, for example, if you're playing Invoker, this card's just really good. And I do also want to shout out the Whis that's also coming out in set 16 because it's a bit different, but also a solid card. So Vados is a counterplay. If you have one or more multicolor energy, play this card. If the battle card being played has a 15k power or less, it's placed at the bottom of the deck instead of being played. And then when this card in your hand is played or used in a combo, switch with one of your energy to active mode. So at the end of it, it ends up costing 1. Then you have additional energy to maybe Senzu Bean, maybe do a rival play, stuff like that. That's pretty solid. The Whis, I think, is a counter attack and a blocker. So for 2 energy, you're stopping 2 attacks, which is pretty good as well. So again, these are cards that are a bit more hard to use, but Cooler Mill, Invoker, pretty decently popular rogue decks. So definitely can see a lot of play if you're in that color combination. Then we have SSB Vegeta for the Universe's Survival. So this card is actually a really high value card. Again, a bit narrow in usage, but it's a 4-drop 20k deflect critical. When this card's played, draw 1, then choose up 2 of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, which is very nice. And they get minus 15k power for the turn. Activate main Sparking 10 for 2. If your leader card's a monocolor U7 card, play this card from your hand. So the Sparking 10 can be a little bit tough for certain decks to reach, but besides the new red U7 Goku leader coming out in set 16, I think it's actually playable in a few other U7 leaders. I think red U7 Gohan can make use of this, maybe not exactly on turn 2 of the game, but because you're comboing cards to draw with your leader, especially on both players' turns, this can be playable pretty early on, maybe like turn 3, turn 4. And then I actually think that yellow U7 Frieza from the Tournament of Power set, very old leader, but has solid effects, can play this pretty well because that leader pitches a card to draw 2. So you're going to be inherently filling your drop area that way. And, you know, maybe doing various other things, you'll fill the drop area quicker. And this card is a value thing you can play for 2 energy because you have the Sparking 10. So this is a card that I think is very interesting if you are in the U7 archetype. If you like to play different U7 decks, so definitely pick it up if you are interested in that. Then we have Son Gohan Harness Power. So the real important thing here is the first effect, auto for a blue if your leader card is blue. At the end of a battle in which this card uses a combo from your hand or drop, play this card from your drop in rest mode. The second effect is tied to the new SSG Goku leader coming out in the set, so if you're playing that leader, awesome, definitely pick up this card. But I think that second effect is actually really cool because it pretty much just inherently power creeps Raging Spirit Son Gohan, which is a set 1, I believe. 1 energy combo 15k battle card that says at the end of battle when you combo with it, if your leader's blue, put it in play. This is essentially the same thing, except it's a base 5k combo, and you only have to pay the energy if you decide you want to use that enter play effect. Again, this card is not super flashy or super broken or anything like that, but it just directly power creeps a card that's at this point, what, 16 plus sets old. So I think it's worth picking up, especially if you're in the blue color. And it is a nice kind of thing to do with your excess energy in blue, because in blue we have Dimension Magic, Senzu Bean, all these cards that untap crazy amounts of energy, and sometimes you just don't have anything to do with that energy. So if you're playing a mono blue style deck, maybe you don't have rivals at your disposal, this can be a pretty cool thing to use that excess defensive energy on. So I think it's worth picking up. Then we have Great Priest Invitation to Battle. So this card is playable in a few decks. It's playable in the new Whis deck coming out in set 16. It's playable in the new Great Priest deck coming out in set 16. But it's also low-key playable in Soul Striker. 1, because it's a 3-cost unison. But 2, you can definitely create a build of Soul Striker that plays a lot of God cards to make use of this guy's +1. You have to kind of look through the database, and there are a lot of new cards coming out that can also help facilitate that. But I think this could be useful in a Soul Striker deck that is catered more towards gods, again, because it helps you awaken and because of that ability to combo gods from your hand, ignoring their energy cost. Next, we've got Demon God Poutine Umbral Might. This is one of 2 SRs I'm going to recommend in this video. Hopefully they're not too expensive to pick up, but this is a very good card for black. So 3 drop 15k blocker, Dark Overwhelm 3 for 1 energy. When this card's played from your hand, play 1 Demon Realm Soldier token. This is the same type of token you play off of the negate that we read earlier in the video, which is actually pretty relevant for the activated battle here. Once per turn, choose one of your Demon Realm Soldier tokens and remove it from the game. Draw 1 card, then switch this card to active mode, and it gets plus 10k power for the battle. So this card alone is very, very good. Like, I automatically think about Vegex and just playing this on turn 1. This card is a value powerhouse, but paired with the negate that we read earlier, spawning more Demon Realm Soldier tokens, you can get even more value out of this card, attacking with it multiple times, drawing multiple cards. Like, this is just absolutely insane. If you play this card alone, it does spawn the 1 token and you can get value out of that, but again, paired with the negate that we read earlier, this thing can just be an absolute value powerhouse, considering it sticks around with Dark Overwhelm and is not very difficult to play, only requiring 3 cards in your drop area. And the final card for today's video, guys, is SSG Vegeta Silent Strike. 2 cost 15k blue unison with Empower 3. So the +1 is just solid draw power, solid cycle through your deck. You're able to just see the best cards you need to see as early as possible. And the -X offers you some game-ending power. I will say 2 cost unisons haven't been the best for blue as of late. I mean, Soul Striker is really the only playable blue deck at the moment, and that deck plays 3 cost unisons, but there have definitely been times where Xeno Cosmic unisons been very, very powerful in certain formats. So 2 cost blue unisons can definitely be good if the deck is built around it and the format kind of allows for it, but I just think this is a good unison to pick up because it offers you that draw power and potential win condition. But anyways, guys, that's going to be it for today's video. Let me know in the comments below if you have other recommendations for players to pick up in set 16. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.